so excited.
Go for it, guys. We'll do it live.
Jeff, we love that song.
Hey, guys. Jeff, thanks for that song. This is Testing Normal. This is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything we want to. This is Curtis.
This is Jordan.
And we hope you all are doing good.
Yeah.
We're excited to be shooting off, I think, number 36 today, right?
It is number 3.
Number tres. Tres seis? How do you say 36 in Spanish? It's definitely not tres. It's definitely not. Binte? Binte seis. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say tres seis.
Yeah.
But
that's 3. That's 30.
That's 36.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I said 26. I can't count in Spanish.
Oh, man.
I think it's trente.
I can go to
Is it
10
trente?
pretty
No.
good. That's about it.
It might be
That's
trente.
about it. Dude, so
Oh, yeah.
how's your week been?
It's been good. I'm going to
Yeah?
get this out of this menu real quick before I hand it over to you.
Go for it, man.
It's good. Hey, do you want to know a fun fact?
Yes.
I just thought about this.
Yes.
And do you know when I thought about this?
Whoa, today? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a moment ago.
Okay. When you were in the bathroom?
When I was micturating.
Micturation.
Um,
Also means urinating, guys.
I was thinking, oh, good, your mom's here for this this statement. I was like, there's some things that I haven't shared.
Oh,
Okay.
my goodness. Where's this going?
Yeah, where's this going? Many of you don't know this, but Curtis and I, our deep friendship doesn't go back ultra far. Our knowledge of each other goes back pretty dang far.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I don't know why I just had this epiphany.
Like at least 20 years.
The moment when I had, I would say the introduction to who you are, but it was more of a warning. And it was our mutual friend Neil at his house.
Who we should give a shout out
hefty
today.
Shout out to.
Hefty shout out. Happy birthday, Neil.
Was it? No, it's not today.
Oh, no, it was
yesterday.
It was yesterday, but he's having a party.
The big 4-0.
Yeah, the big 4-0.
Yes, I told that. I'm a jackass. I forgot to text him. I grew up down the road from.
Shout out to my cousin Christina. How's it going, Christina? Hope you're having a good weekend.
And he said, "Hey, someone's coming to my house, and I want you to punch them."
Oh my gosh.
And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, because maybe they'll be less annoying." And I'm kind of paraphrasing because this is like when I was like 8.
Right. So that's
9.
like
or maybe
I would have been
maybe 10 or 11.
So I would have been like 4.
You were not that old.
So that's a pretty aggressive thing to say about a 4-year-old.
I know. So this is actually what I remember was, and maybe I was a little bit older. Maybe I was like 12 because you're what, 6 years younger than me?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
So it would have made you 6 to 7, somewhere in there. I thought of it because I saw your daughter's tag that said Nolly Gill, and I was like, oh, I remember the first time I heard that name Gill. It was Curtis Gill, and it was from Neil, who apparently at the time thought you were a very annoying small child with a lot of energy, which we know to be true, and thought you needed to be put in your place.
Well,
so that's sort of funny.
Thanks, Neil.
Fast forward 30 some odd years.
Yeah.
And here we
well,
are.
now who's punching who? Boom.
I don't think either one of us has punched each
other. Oh, man. No, but I mean, think about...
I just thought it was funny. Like, all the things that had to happen.
Isn't that like a perfect... like
you moved across the country. I moved to Seattle.
Yeah, somehow
back to
paths
teeny
converged.
tiny town.
Yeah, well, thanks for not punching me. At least I don't
No
remember.
problem.
I don't remember
I don't
a punch. But
I didn't know.
I mean, think about... I think any of us would have said that same thing about someone younger than us.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
I'm sure when I was
still
10,
saying about people younger. Oh.
I'm sure I would have been like, hey, go. When I was 10, I'm sure I would have told somebody to go punch somebody. Yeah.
Or
Dude,
steal their candy.
So today's topic, for all those interested, we are kind of delving into the world a little bit, just kind of the superficial, but we're kind of testing the norm, the concepts of college and higher education and the costs that go into it and the pros, the cons. It's kind of a little bit of a controversial topic in the terms of like people, some have opportunities and others don't. So
this started because I jokingly put up not jokingly, it did make me think.
It was a good pick.
On our Instagram.
Do you have it on your you put it on the iPad so we can show people?
I'm going to try to bring it up on the iPad,
Yeah. So obviously, while Jordan's looking that up, it is something that is really frustrating to me the concept of how expensive college is and how difficult it is for access to a majority of people, and the benefit versus the cost as continue to become less of a benefit and more of a cost in the long run.
Right.
And that's kind of an overwhelming thing. And so throughout this week, I was trying to think about, like, what is the reason for this? Why are we having so like absurd costs to four-year public and to private schools? I'll pull this pic up real quick that Jordan posted. Let's see.
Yeah. So it says Coyote, $21,000 in debt after wandering through university campus.
Yeah, which is like
it's preposterous.
But it's perfect. Perfect.
It is, because I remember like what I thought about when I saw this picture was my dad telling me about when he first went to college, and he went in Alaska his first year, and not to share too much personal information about him, but he used to be able to work for a summer and pay for his expenses for the college year.
Yeah, like his tuition as well.
Tuition, room, board, and like if anyone had to do that now, they couldn't. There's nothing you could do short of you couldn't even sell a kidney really and hit that.
No, not really. No, definitely not. So the average, I've pulled up a bunch of interesting statistics that I kind of wanted to throw out there to you. So we're going to kind of be throwing out some numbers to you guys today. And
just thoughts. We like to start conversations here. We're definitely not going to conclude to anything.
Yeah.
And our opinion on this could change in a hiccup tomorrow.
Right.
But it's a good discussion.
Yeah. So, just some numbers here.
Yeah. Hit me.
So a 4-year public college charges an average right now, an average of around $20,000 a year for tuition, fees, room and board. So right now the average cost is just over $20,000 a year. That's for a public school. The average overall for a private school is between $46,000, $47,000 a year. So times that by 4, you're getting close to $100,000 for public and well over $100,000, close to $200,000 in private schools nowadays. So the issue is, and the question is are you coming out of school with the advantage of having a degree where it's going to make you and give you opportunities that are going to be able to pay for this school, going to be able to pay for these, basically a house loan, essentially, and across the board, essentially, the answer is no. Like right now, that's not meeting that.
It would depend on what you go to school for. So we kind of need to back up and say, we're not saying that we think school is worthless at this point, but I would argue there are a lot of vocations that don't require a full higher education degree. Now, if the guy's cutting me open, I definitely want him to be trained and have some experience. It's super nice if a lawyer is, to some degree, vetted.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, so an example of where it's shown that wages aren't meshing. Wages aren't matching with the increased cost.
Correct.
The increase in an individual's wage after school, or even throughout the past 50 years, has not matched the increased cost of school.
So why do you think that is?
Well, I have some ideas, but I'm going to throw out a percentage of how much has increased.
Yeah.
Wages since 1970, and guys, we'll post links to all these statistics that I looked up in Business Insider and all these different links. But wages have increased by 67% since 1970. On average, for the typical American in their average jobs.
That's accounting for inflation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So wages have increased about 67% since 1970. However, from the about 1970s, 1980s to 2018, the cost of an undergraduate tuition, a bachelor's degree has risen from a public school 213% since that time. And then from a private school, it's risen 129%.
Right.
So adjusting for inflation, regardless, the cost of school from private and public exponentially increased, whereas wages have not even come close to meeting that. So that's showing there's a problem. But what is the cause of that is a question.
Yeah. Artie just chimed in.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur.
Go for Arthur.
I don't think I've ever called you Arthur to your face, Artie. And if you want me to, you can always tell me. But I love the name Artie for you. You just look like an Artie. Anyway, I digress. He said fiber to the home technician only takes a few courses to become certified and is above average salary.
Is fiber to the home a low voltage
I don't think
electrician?
it's even voltage.
Oh, yeah.
It's just fiber. It's optical.
Okay. Is that like a STTC working for like an
I
internet
think it
company?
would be something like that. Yeah.
Like Wave,
Is that what
broadband,
is that what you do now, Artie?
CenturyLink?
I don't. I know that you were into horticulture for a while, so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a good example, though. There's
it's
tons of examples of stuff that
right.
that you actually will
And
end up earning less.
And I want to go over some of those things.
Yeah.
I will. But
I know. I'm just.
it's a vicious cycle. It's really a vicious cycle
I'm here to
of
dance around. You're
supply
here to
and
give
demand.
facts.
It's a supply and demand issue,
Yes.
essentially. So the more students who want to attend college, the more the cost of college increases, right? And the more students borrow money. So it's like it continues to increase as the demand increases, the colleges increase the cost of it. So the big question is, everybody's asking, what is the deal? Like, why are they so expensive? So you guys ready for this? Some of the reasons
Yes.
for why freaking
I have some ideas too.
absurdity.
Just in my listening,
And stupidity.
and looking around, and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously this is
Oh,
not,
wait. In your research, before we get into that,
yeah.
I would assume that the amount of people getting higher education has increased as well.
Significantly.
Okay. Do you know how much or roughly?
Yeah. Well, I'll have to see where I found that. But
Okay.
yes,
Because I know that that has increased as well because it didn't used to be as common.
Right. Yes. I had that at one point. I'll have to try to find it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so why? The question is why. So there's a couple different theories about it, but one of the most common theories about it has to do with financial aid.
Yes.
And
I don't think this is a theory. I think this is actually what's caused it.
Well, yeah, there's multiple factors, but one of the larger factors is associated with this. So in 1978, Congress passed a bill known as the Middle Income Student Assistance Act. Okay, and this made all undergraduates, regardless of income class, eligible for subsidized loans, and middle income students were eligible for Pell Grants as well.
Mm-hmm.
So colleges, knowing that students will get this financial aid money, they began to raise the fees.
Yep.
And
because it's guaranteed.
Right, exactly.
It's a loan you can't get rid of yet.
And as the university raises its fees and takes advantage to capture that themselves, the increasing Pell money and the increasing grants, so then does the rate continue to go up.
Right.
So the issue is I'm not a opponent of there being student loans, but I think that it's a tricky situation. I think that student loans, if college was less expensive, I think a middle class should have less access to those financial aid programs.
Right.
And then in doing so, basically forcing colleges to decrease their prices.
Right.
But the problem is that they've become so bloated that now they have to have that much of a
I'd be
cost.
curious, like where that, or maybe they just need to make public, like where the heck that money's going.
Because, so you want to know where?
Yeah.
Some of these things?
Yeah.
Well, colleges essentially, I mean, some of the private colleges especially had more of the luxuries, but now most even state schools, if you go to like OSU,
right.
Oregon State University,
yeah.
or University of Oregon, like it's like going to like a 5-star hotel.
Oh yeah.
Like and that's obviously a bit of an exaggeration, but like the grounds are just like crazy manicured, these insane athletic performance, and they facilities.
Can't even, like the kids can't even, well, I guess California is trying to change that now, but the sports players can't even make money off of their image that they're essentially selling for the school.
That might be changing though, right?
Well, California is changing it currently.
But okay, so some of the college bloated expenses would be like we mentioned, the hotel-like swimming pools, state-of-the-art fitness centers, restaurants, movie theaters, rock climbing, areas, game rooms, etc. But then there's like the administrative side of it. There's become an incredible amount of resources that are applied for the students now in these schools. Like counselors have significantly increased their role, like student wellness centers, And there are some advantages to those things, but the question is, would you rather have all these luxuries, or would you rather be able to not graduate with $100,000 in debt?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just like it's it's like anything. It's like, do you want to pay for all inclusive, or and not, and you almost feel guilty not using it. It's like, it's kind of the subscription plan. It's like, if I subscribe to Netflix but don't ever use it, there's no point in me having Netflix. Like,
right.
But if you're in a situation where you have to buy everything, it's like the cable companies, like, but they're battling, and now you're battling with like the subscription bloat of there's 88 different providers out there. And then
you got to look at the cascading effect. So you have all these additional facilities, programs, and each one of those programs then have multiple employees.
Right.
And each of those employees have multiple managers.
Right.
And then those managers have director roles, and those director roles then have, different executive roles.
Right.
And it's such a bloated system. And in America, especially, the executive upper management roles are incredibly high paid in comparison to the rest of the positions beneath them.
Mm-hmm.
That it's literally just becoming a suction for all this financial aid.
So no, and the costs have increased, but then they still will ask for alumni support.
Right, yeah, they still ask for.
Just fine. I'm not knocking anyone that does that. It's just
right.
It's where is that going? Like, what is, if it didn't used to cost that much, even taking into account inflation, why all of a sudden do you think it's a way more valuable product? There's more people going. Supply and demand would say they should get more efficient at it.
Well, and the interesting thing is that because it's become so commonplace, like so many people are attempting to get college degrees because other jobs have, it's been kind of broadcast to the nation. Like, if you don't have this degree, you're not going to get this job.
Yeah.
Because this is now the norm. Like, this is the standard. And it's unfortunate that even in the business world, if it used to be, you would go off of your skill sets and you would learn on the job. Whereas now it's like you learn on the job, but you also have to have this piece of paper behind it.
It's kind of a weird spot too that we find ourselves in, especially like in the tech industry, for instance. Someone goes in and they get this education, they maybe get a few certifications and all that kind of stuff, but they have no experience. They're not necessarily employable yet.
Right.
And so now they're $80,000 in debt, bare minimum, and can't get a job because they haven't been spending time getting on the job training.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. And it's interesting that I was reading about the amount of kids that go into college and then, whether they actually complete it in 4 years, get it done. And it was saying the statistic was about 40% of the kids don't even graduate within 6 years.
Right.
So you're looking at a significant number of kids that are going for multiple years or have dropped out.
Well, I know even since I was in there, the things that you can actually go and major in have significantly increased, and also some of them are quite bizarre. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but if you're offended by this, I'm sorry. You got to pick something better. But you can't go into the arts and then get out and expect that you're probably going to use that for something.
An even better example, I'm just going to throw it out there.
Here we are testing normal. We're going to
a better example is getting your bachelor's degree in Christian studies.
Yeah.
And then expecting to have a marketable degree in the business world or somewhere else. Like I was reading this one post and this guy said, he's like, the worst situation is I graduated with this degree in Christian studies and now I have with $100,000 in debt, and now I don't even believe in that religion anymore. It's oh my God, can you imagine? You're
I definitely if there's going to be a religious leader, I want them to be educated, but there are people that go into these general things for things like religion or whatever, that it's okay, what do you expect to do with that? Because if it's just to spend 4 years learning about it and you're going to feel good about yourself, get on YouTube. Do some research and learn to research for good content that's actually going to give you good results. And some of it maybe you'll have to pay for, but definitely going to spend $100,000 on it.
Right.
And it's like, oh, like don't major in pottery. Like I mean, think about it. Like the people that are famous for that didn't go to school.
Well, I don't. Yeah,
like,
but honestly, I mean, do you know anybody that's famous for pottery?
No. I mean, like art and stuff. Like the stuff that we look at today, we're like, oh, that is cool. Like the Sistine Chapel. Like he's not. He didn't like go
majority
to
of them
4-year degree,
didn't have our
go on to
standard.
get his master's degree, and then get asked to paint the.
Well, and so the whole entire college, we're harping on college. Obviously, like we know there's some. Obviously, to work in the field I worked in healthcare, I had to have a college degree. I had to have an education. I had to have a reason. I had to have a foundation for why I understand what I understand. However, there's a significant need to overhaul the financial aspect to college.
Yes.
But not only the financial aspect to it, but if you guys have been looking at all these college admission scandals that are taking place.
Yeah.
Like Full House, what's her name? Jesse's wife.
Yeah. Her name was Rebecca on Full House.
Was it Rebecca? There you go. Rebecca, yeah. Like obviously, she's currently under
Oh yeah. Some of those guys could go to jail for the money that they paid to get people in to kind of cheat the system. But I guess so part of it, yes. I completely 100% agree with the financial aid thing. I think the problem is that is the government stepped in to say, we're going to create a loan that people can't get rid of, which meant that the schools knew they were going to get their money up front because it's backed by the government. And then the government's going to say, you can't ever wipe that clean from the slate. And so the schools saw that as basically just a blank check. They're like, well, you're just getting free money anyway. So let's just raise the prices. And at the same time, let's try to convince everyone that every single thing you want to do in life is worthless if you don't have some letters or a degree to go with you, and tell them that like their skills are nothing until they have education. And we'll convince the whole Western world that that's the case.
It's a money grab situation for multiple reasons. But like when you go back to that college admissions thing, I had a really like ridiculous article I was reading about, and there was this.
You need to turn your mic a little bit.
Do I? Is that better?
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
You're back.
There was a kid that had applied to Georgetown.
Yeah.
Okay. As a Division I school, he applied to it. He had been a state champion in tennis. Okay. His teammate, and they both had like similar scores in school and everything like that.
Right.
His teammate applied at the same time. But he had won the state championship. His friend was just, basically on the team, but hadn't been great. But guess which one made it in? His teammate. And you know why? Because his grandfather was the person who invented Hot Pockets. And previously, several years earlier, had donated $400,000 to the school.
In the form of Hot Pockets?
In the form of Hot Pockets. Heart Pockets. So basically, everybody in the school got free Hot Pockets for life. And no, I'm just kidding about the Hot Pockets.
And they're all 400
But he was the one who, invented it. So this like multi-millionaire, I think close to billionaire. And he ended up basically...
There you go.
Screwing this kid out who was a Division I, stud, could have been amazing in tennis, and ended up not getting into school because, money's the answer in that situation.
It's a great example of another issue that's very complex. Like we're not going to touch on everything for it, but it is like if someone so we've talked about this with many subjects. People, if they don't like a kid isn't ready to make a decision at that age in their life, they don't know what they're going to do. They're still like largely like encouraged if they can in any way possible to go to school.
Yeah.
Like, and I think a lot of that's what's caused the whole don't finish school. Like they don't know yet. Like, and really like like it or not, like we've created this adolescence that now like extends into some people's 30s and 40s.
Right.
That they don't ever figure out what they're going to do. And now they're, $100,000 in debt to, make baskets and working at Red Robin. Like, not that there's anything wrong with either one of those. It's just like, don't expect.
But it's wrong to have $100,000 in debt. Like that's obviously not a preferred option.
Yeah.
Just to have that debt along with Red Robins.
So what do you think? And maybe you're getting to this. Like, what do you think the solution is to this?
Great question, Jordan.
Or suggestions?
Yeah, suggestions. Well,
Because there's some crazy ones I could think of.
So this is going to get a little bit out there, but we're going to get on the subject of socialized education.
Okay.
And I am a proponent. I think it is I do really like how other nations have provided the opportunity for national education.
Is it blanket? So explain that for a second. Does that mean like everyone
if you're
straight out
a
of
resident,
high school?
If you're a resident,
yeah, but everyone straight out of high school is just encouraged to go on to
yes,
free higher education.
But here's the thing: it doesn't guarantee which school you get into.
Okay.
So and then that's when it becomes based on your testing, your skill set, your community service, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then there are additional,
just like the Hunger Games.
But then there are also private schools as well. So there's state schools that are funded by the country.
Right.
But then there's also private schools as well.
Right.
That you can pay for.
Kind of like the private health insurance, like we were talking about with Australia a few weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. So I would if it was me,
like magic wand.
I would open up state-run universities,
which we kind of have,
but for free.
Okay.
Okay. And then I would. So the question is, okay, then how do we pay for it? Essentially.
Yeah.
Now here's curveball. I would make them, and I don't know if this would work totally, but I'm just saying because my personal experience, I would make them work-study programs.
Oh.
So you work on campus, but the students then work for the school and significantly decrease the overhead of the school.
Okay.
So the college that I went to was a private school, but
this would be kind of like OHSU in Portland. Like,
I don't
college.
Yeah, but their students aren't working. Like you're not in school there. You're not working for your tuition.
Okay.
In this situation, you'd be working for your tuition.
But you could do it like that.
I don't think they have that. Oh shoot, sorry. At OHSU. But what I would recommend is the students are responsible for like the landscaping. They're responsible for utilities work. They're responsible for maintenance work. They're responsible for and then as they go up in years. So like you would start out as a freshman. You work in the kitchen, doing dishes, doing service lines sort of thing, and then you go to I
saw your angle. Like that's our guess. We don't have.
Eventually,
them for a second.
Eventually, potentially, not always, but you may be able to work in a field where you're getting your degree.
Yeah.
So, like, you're working in the medical center if you're going into nursing school,
right?
Or you're working in the whatever with the electrical engineers or whatever that are needed to keep all the different maintenance stuff going at the school. Mm-hmm. So or IT, you're working with in the IT department if you're getting a computer science degree or something and that they could be utilized.
So I wouldn't be completely against this, especially if they were limited in like they were useful degrees that were going somewhere. So like engineering.
I think there should be yes, totally.
Healthcare.
There needs to be a in those state schools.
Right.
There should not be. This is my personal opinion. To make it work, it just needs to. We need to get to the bone.
Yeah.
We need to eliminate some of the fluffy degrees that are not going to be necessary to create a healthy education.
Yeah, unless they're going to be like the Smithsonian curator. You shouldn't go into archaeology.
Right. And that's the other deal. Like if you're a state-run school, then you know where the needs are necessarily.
True.
And so you can say these are the programs we're offering. If you want to get a free degree in this, if you want to get a tuition,
they're going to be ones that produce things in society.
This is what we're going to offer. But if you want a different degree, you can go pay for it.
Yeah, but stop the whole guaranteed money program that the government has going on.
The other thought I had,
which I think is super interesting, because to me that in and of itself seems so like far out there that there are people that are like, no, let's keep doing this, and socialized education is wrong. And I'm not saying that I'm necessarily for either, but I do think that the way that they're doing things now is busted, and it's causing a similar situation to like privatized prisons. Like it's just a giant money grab.
Yeah.
Like in order to do this, we have to keep saying that our product is good. In order to keep saying our product is good, we have to keep being flashy. and coming up with these crazy things that, I mean, what are the percentages of people that go into the field that they even train in?
Dude, the other thought I had as far as school, universal school options, this is another one that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily appreciate, but I think it would be good for individuals and for maybe uniting people across different demographics.
Yeah.
And eliminating some of the team mentality, tribal mentality we have.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone after high school should have to serve a mandatory 2 years.
I do too.
In the military.
I do too.
Pull in Israel. Pull Switzerland. Switzerland does it.
Yeah.
And then after that service time,
you go out, you take your weapon with you.
Oh, with Switzerland?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
And you have to come back and train.
So you're in reserves then?
Kind of.
Is everyone in Switzerland in reserves?
There's not a lot of people there, so if they're going to get in a big fight, they need everyone, all hands on deck.
Interesting. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I mean, there's going to be medical exemptions. There's going to be.
So just to prove that, like, I was having this conversation with my wife today. I was like, I think that, and I might get a lot of people mad at me, my family and all that, but I don't. It's fine. It's not like a moral failing here, guys. Is that I think if I were to take a test, I would not end up on the right or the left. But I think that most people on the right would think that I would be far left, and most people on the left would think I would be far right. Because there really isn't, it's not really popular to be kind of okay with both camps a little bit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I struggle to say moderate because people use that word too much, but it's like, I am pretty neutral, and I want to like measure things out and figure it out for myself. And here's my complete opinion of the political spectrum is it's a giant circle, and those of you on the far right and those of you on the far left are both big jerks, and the circle meets at the bottom, and you're both actually really, really similar to each other. The crazies on the left that are way out there and the crazies on the right
I don't know
are
though,
both
dude.
fanatical.
Gosh, I can't
and they
say
just need to be friends.
Their opinions aren't that close to each other, but the way they act is close to each other, maybe.
Their opinions actually, if you were to break them down, they probably get pretty dang close. They just are looking at it from the other side of the coin. Like,
maybe.
It's pretty...
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
They're both pretty hateful.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah, for sure.
If you don't agree with me, you're a bigot, or you're a racist, or you're a socialist. Like, that's how they all respond. It's like, can we just have a conversation about it for a second?
But you know, that being said, we kind of a little bit have already a program in place with, but see, we're still paying for it with like community colleges.
Yeah.
You know, community colleges I see as being a really good avenue.
I do too. At least to start.
To allow more people to get an education, and maybe those could be the ones that are the
start out.
The federally funded.
You start
schooling.
out with a 2-year degree, and you go and you start there.
Yeah. The other thing that I would like to implement in colleges is maybe instead of, you could go for a degree in these state schools.
Yeah.
But maybe it's an alternative route you would also have a trade school within those universities. So you would have an electrician.
Trade schools for a lot of things.
Electrician program. You would have plumbing program. You would have, I don't know, viticulture. No, I don't know about viticulture. No, maybe not that. For those winos out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a fan of the trade. I'm a fan of the trades.
I think so too. I think Mike Rose, that guy's onto something. Like, there's a lot of jobs that are going to be in high demand because what we've done is we've pushed for white collar education and everything, and we've almost like made these trades or like actual like working at things, creating or fixing or building, kind of almost demeaning. Like,
well, but maybe on the social aspect of it, but on the business side of things and on the actual practicality side of things,
right.
the trades now have become, because they have been under influenced and under pushed by society as far as like being like, this is the cool thing, this is the hip thing to do, they now are in demand. And so it's almost like we've flipped the script.
Yes,
and now,
but I think we're going to end up in a problem, and I think that might be part of the problem that we're in today.
So what do you mean?
is that we have like a lack of people going into those things. And
of going into trades.
So it's good for the people who are in them because they're in high demand. Yeah. But I think we have not enough people to sustain a culture because of those things.
Right. Exactly. But I'm saying I think the pendulum's coming back. I think more people now are going to start seeing and changing the mentality of like, oh wow, trades are needed and they're paying really good. They're paying this guy that's coming out of trade school is making $50 an hour, whereas I'm
higher education picking up on that and going, oh, let's cash in on this too.
And how would they do that?
Just start to say like, well, trade schools aren't good. You need this degree to do this.
The issue would be.
That's what I love in tech is like there's a lot. I mean, you could go get an education and some things would require it if you're going into business and stuff like that. But there's a lot of certifications.
The sketchiest thing would be
way more
is if the bureaucrats and big colleges, universities pushed legislation that required a lot of those trade to have a degree.
Yes.
That's where you would see sketchy, dirty.
Yeah.
That'd be.
See, this is
gross.
where I think that people don't get, and people are this opinion would get a lot of flack, is that I think capitalism works to a point, but it's not not flawless. It's flawed in the sense that when people show up, which they always do, and are greedy, and it's not regulated, then people throw up things like, no, don't do that because we need business not involved, or we need the government not involved. Well, here's a little bit of a newsflash, is the government is supposed to be us, which, yes, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed in that as well. But if the government is the representative of the people, then the people are in charge of regulating each other to make sure that someone isn't gaining a advantage or taking advantage of people in a way that shouldn't happen. And so when you just let capitalism run rampant with greed, it's a really dangerous place. And that's, I believe, what we see with the school thing.
Well, and I think that's why a lot of like emergency programs are not usually, I mean, there are some privatized like ambulance companies.
Right.
But in general, it's a socialized program.
Right.
Because if you get a program where like, hey, listen, you're having a heart attack, but you got to pay $50 for me to pick you up, man.
Yeah.
You get on a slippery slope where or a fire station, sorry, we're not going to wake our guys up. You didn't pay your bill last month.
Did you ever see the movie Repo Man? It's like a
wait. Is that with Is that with what's the name? Is that with Rocky?
No.
Oh.
Well,
Sylvester Stallone.
So the premise of the movie is that people are getting these transplants and upgrades, but they are actual like parts. So it's like artificial heart and stuff.
No, that's
and when they don't, the people don't pay. They go and they repo them.
Oh, who's that with?
And
Bald white guy.
They'll just rip your heart out, and that's an extreme example. But when you let capitalism run rampant and never be regulated, that's kind of the situation you get yourself into. I don't think that we're probably going to end up there, but you get the idea. Like, it becomes just about the money and not about the people, and that's a problem. I still think that businesses deserve for their ideas and their services that they offer to make money. I still think that people deserve it, but the way that it's done, like, I wouldn't be against like going out and capping some of that stuff, like saying like, hey, the CEO can't make 1,000% more than the smallest person, like, because it's just, now you're just, because
that's
places
true.
Like Walmart and McDonald's and all that kind of stuff hand out like welfare.
No, it was 1,000% more.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah. I was just throwing that number out, but just like they hand out like these welfare things saying like, you're not going to make enough money with us. Right. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to get on the program.
That's crazy.
So in that instance, who is riding?
Yeah, right.
Who's relying on the government? The person or the company? Well, the company is, because it's there and they're taking advantage of it while they're still making billions.
Yeah. Right. Isn't that disgusting?
And that's it's kind of what's going on with the whole school loans too, though. Is they're making all this money. I don't think it costs them that much. I don't think it has to cost them that much.
It doesn't have to. It may actually cost them that much because they have so many programs and they have bloated themselves to that degree.
I don't think it's even just the programs, too, because if that many people really are paying that much money, that's a lot of money going somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean, even without just like breaking down the amounts, like if you've got, you know,
$30,000 a student a year.
A year, yeah, and you've got, you know, 1,000 students. Holy cow! Like,
right.
What is going on here?
They just got too many. There's too many bosses for bosses.
Yeah.
Basically, they're too top heavy, and then they also have too many programs that aren't necessarily going to be needed to create a well-rounded education. I think, in my opinion, in my personal opinion.
And we see this. I'm glad to see this start happening because this is something that's very, very similar. Like pro sports teams will do this too, ride on a city, and they'll say, "Hey, if you raise the money to build this, we'll bring a team."
Right. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Isn't that interesting?
Back the truck up for a second. How much money are you going to be spending, paying, earning, all that kind of stuff through your team? Like, why can't you pay for that?
I know, that's a very strange thing.
So it's in a similar vein as what we've been talking about. Is if something like that's there and exists, people will try to take advantage of it, and it ends up hurting the people there. And if we don't do anything about it, then
dude, I agree. Well, that's most of the main thoughts I had about college. I have some other random facts I want to throw out there, things that I learned about.
Yeah, I'd like to say, like, I went to college. I'm not against higher education. I'm thankful. I was fortunate to have parents that were able to put me in school and get a good education and learn, and it's done me well. I don't know if that was the case and I was having to pay for it, if I would say the same thing. If I was like, you know, 80 grand in debt from it, if that would have been a good ROI, because I do have friends that were paying for it that decided I'm just going to go get a job and were 3 years ahead of me and still doing really well out of school. But and maybe that wouldn't have worked for me. But there's tons of situations where I know people that did that. So it doesn't say that I'm not thankful and wouldn't, you know, do something different.
This was more of a conversation about the flaws we're seeing in education costs in particular, and
it's changed a lot since I went too.
Yeah,
it's probably changed a lot even since.
Anyways, for anyone out there with kids that are going to be going to college soon, look for work-study program colleges. Get yourself in a school that the kid works on campus for 15 hours a week, and then that pays for their tuition.
Yeah.
Find it. They're out there.
I mean, like, we've talked at, like, my 12-year-old is like, I want to go to college, and he wants to be a programmer, like a coder, and he's got the brain for it. And what do we encourage him to do? Hey, you could start getting certifications now. You could start learning now, and not worry about all that.
Like, get his Salesforce certification going.
You don't need that. I mean, you can if you want, but like, you don't need that. Like, that's gonna by the time they go to college, if it keeps rising the way it is, which I sure hope it doesn't, then it might be near impossible. But it might be good for them because it may push them to not do it, and they might be better off.
Well, we'll just have to see what Bernie does. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of him? I saw it today. He spoke to a larger crowd than any of the other candidates, including Trump.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah, like this week.
Well, I mean, that's not surprising. He has a large appeal to a lot of people.
He looks like Larry David to me.
Yes, he does.
Have you seen the video of him last time he was running when the women took over the microphone in Seattle and they just started playing the Curb Your Enthusiasm music?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Just gloriously wonderful.
Guys, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode tonight. We kind of have crazy schedules, but I want to throw out some TILs, some Today's I Learned for y'all.
Do it, dude.
I want to pull up a picture actually here real quick. If you can go to my first one.
You can pull that picture. I'll put a picture up in just a second.
It's on the iPad.
But I wanted to say, too, in kind of an update to last week, we were talking about the vape ban in Oregon and how it was hurting jobs and stuff. And the Oregon Appeals Court halted the governor's flavored vaping ban.
Really?
Yeah.
And did they say why?
I didn't get that far. I just know that they were like, nope. Sorry, Kate.
Yeah, really? Interesting. They banned her ban.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I think they said it was basically unconstitutional.
Well, did you see the drama that was going on with her and all the eco-friendly individuals that were upset with her about flying? Instead of driving from Salem, which is the capital of Oregon, to Bend or Redmond.
Mm-hmm.
She took a private jet, which consumed a massive amount of fuel, and there's a significant amount of emissions compared to just driving there. And she was like, on a platform of being eco-friendly, and they were really like, up in arms about this, especially a lot of right-wing individuals that were like, okay, you hypocrite, you're preaching, but you're not practicing. It was a big drama this past week.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Did you find that the very first TIL on my side?
From Dig?
Yes.
The invisibility cloak?
Yes.
I think I saw
this. This is the coolest thing.
Not on Dig, I saw it.
This is the coolest thing west of the Rockies. Okay. We're going to pull this up here. Okay, click play. It won't get big enough. See if you can.
We're gonna risk this.
We're going to risk it. Look at this. This is So, what we're looking at, guys, is a sheet, okay? And it's called quantum stealth material, all right? And it's paper thin technology, and it bends light around a target to make it move or vanish, basically. And then it kind of makes it look like fog a little bit, but you can also see some of the material behind the object.
Yeah, it's morphing the light around you.
Right. And it's not 100% perfect, but it really literally bends the light so you can see part of the object behind you, but it creates a shield in front of you so you cannot see your actual self.
That's funny. It kind of looks like
and it hides infrared, ultraviolet, and thermal signals.
That's funny.
Look at that. There's this guy walking behind it in front of a wall, but you can see the wall behind it.
That's pretty rad.
Which is really cool. That was a really cool thing I saw this week. I was like, oh, that's going to go places.
Yeah.
That's going to go places.
Well, it's kind of what like the stealth bomber does and all that kind of stuff. It's not actually stealth. It just is not returning the waves back to where they came from, which is what that's doing.
Right. Yeah. So another interesting thing that I learned about this week is that 71% of the United States youth currently would not qualify for the military service right now based on physical testing.
Oh yeah. It's
71% of the United States youth do not qualify.
Although I would say, like, there was a kid that was in when I was in, and he couldn't do one push-up when we got there. And to qualify, you've got to do like 42 or something like that. Like, it's not that many. And
so how did he get past the recruiter then?
That's a super good question, and he got asked that a lot in a lot of different colorful ways.
Uh-huh.
But by the end, he did it. By the end of basic training, he pulled it off.
Oh my gosh.
He had people in our barracks that work with him every single night.
Just like push-ups at night?
Push-ups, like helping him, assisted push-ups, like got him fit.
Was it like the drill sergeant that was helping him?
No. They said, people around you better help you. Or you're screwed. He'll just keep getting recycled until he makes it.
Oh, so he would stay in basic training.
Yeah, and unless he proved he couldn't. That is an interesting job. There's some things I wish I could adopt out of the military into other jobs. One of being, if you can't pass your physical fitness test, you can lose your job and not promote. And if you don't promote past a certain point in a certain amount of years, they just count your career as over. And
that's interesting.
You leave.
Well, a lot of jobs aren't based on physical qualifications.
A lot of jobs in the Army aren't either, but they still have a physical fitness
that's interesting.
requirement.
That's interesting.
Doesn't matter what you are. That's part of your job.
Well, I would agree with that, especially in like service fields like law enforcement and fire department, that sort of thing, especially. But I see a lot of law enforcement out there that have not physically.
The people that didn't do it, they got put on the Fat Boy program. That's what they called it. Not even joking. And they would have to come out on Saturdays and Sundays and work out extra. Until they got back up. Yep.
FBP.
Yep.
You got any TILs you wanted to throw out there? I got a couple more.
I do. I learned that Braille was originally invented by the French army out of necessity after soldiers were being killed because they used lamps after dark to read combat messages. Soon after, Louis Braille, an 11-year-old blind boy, simplified it into what we use today.
What?
So it was originally used for reading messages in the dark, so you didn't get shot.
Whoa. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Cool fact that came from Japan.
Yeah.
Japan?
Japan.
Yes.
That's not racist at all.
There's not at all. It's okay. We're just,
cool,
it's
cool.
flattery.
They can't understand us.
There's a word called, and I'm not exactly sure if I'm pronunciating this correctly.
It's
Pronunciating.
Pronunciating.
But the word it's called inumuri. Inumuri. It's a Japanese practice of napping in public, and it often does occur in work, in meetings, and classes. And it's interesting. So it's a different type of like norm, social norm, where sleeping at work is considered kind of like a sign of dedication to the job.
I wish this would catch on.
Yeah. So like it's like basically it would suggest like someone stayed up late at night, doing work or work to the point of complete exhaustion.
I wish that
and
this
then
would
that
catch
means
on.
like it's excusable because they worked so hard.
And the tipping culture would go away.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it would seem like society would
They're
slow down
unrelated.
a bit.
There's two things. That,
if
one I
napping
want, one
became
I don't.
very common at work, it seems like our society would have to slow down a bit.
I would hope so. Yeah. I learned that Nathan Nearest Green, a slave, taught Jack Daniel how to brew whiskey. He became Daniel's master distiller and is now known as the godfather of Tennessee whiskey. His son George also became a master distiller, and some of his descendants still work for Jack Daniel's whiskey to this day.
Wait, he was a slave?
Yep. And he taught Jack Daniel's how to distill whiskey.
Whoa. That's pretty nifty.
It's kind of cool.
That's
if
really
something
cool.
bad's going to come out, or something good is going to come out of something bad, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's curious, though. I mean, I guess there was going to be whiskey no matter what. But
there already was. But
right.
hey, this is how I do it. And it became this big known brand everywhere.
Huh. I heard a really cool thing this week. Or not really cool, but something positive out of negative. An elevator with 6 people in Chicago fell 84 floors.
What?
Yeah, in a skyscraper. There was like
I would hope it's a skyscraper.
There's a top level bar that's like on the 95th floor. And these people it's like a really cool view. So they went in there, got some drinks. 6 people got in the elevator. Boom, a support cable broke. It fell.
Oh.
The clamps to like secure it. It took that 84 floors for it to totally come to a stop. The people were freaking out in it.
What? No, why?
But everyone survived. It stopped on the 11th floor.
Oh.
So first of all, those clamps are not closing fast enough for them to fall. However many. Well, they fell 84 floors.
If you fell from the 50th floor, you are screwed. You're going right through the ground.
Right. So there's multiple malfunctions
stopped on floor
taking place.
13.
But what was crazy is they stopped on. Well, yeah, that would be crazy. Bad luck, right?
Yeah. That's good luck that day.
They stopped on the 11th floor. The 11th floor. It didn't have an access point, so they couldn't
get out.
It didn't. Yeah, they couldn't get out. So the firemen had to.
That sucks.
They had to saw through multiple concrete walls on the side of this building to get.
I'd be climbing out the top of that
actual individuals
up the whatevers.
Yeah,
to get to
I was
the
like,
next
oh
doors.
my god, can you imagine that story?
Ugh.
Can you imagine?
Yeah,
terrifying.
The day
my pants would be so wet.
Squishy. First shower thought. This is perfect.
Okay.
I'm so glad that I put this one in here. I almost didn't. The most unrealistic part about Harry Potter is that he has an invisibility cloak and he uses it for reading books. You're just thinking of all the things.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what he does. He sneaks off and reads books.
Right.
Whatever, Harry.
Yeah. Silly Harry. Okay. Really funny concept about Braille, going into Braille.
Yeah. Oh, no, I knew I had this one too.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Reading Poisonous Surface in Braille has to be a really freaky moment. like,
don't touch this.
Oh, crap.
Whoops.
Oh, don't touch hot surface.
Oh, my gosh. How creepy would it be if a baby was born laughing instead of crying?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine?
Oh, it'd be terrifying.
Yeah, that's true.
So terrifying.
A simplified thought would be the concept of muffled sound is the same. The alternative of that is vision that's blurry.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're kind of the same thing on different senses.
Oh my gosh. The only thing stopping you is about as right as I'm about to drive home. The only thing stopping you from dying in a high-speed crash is a painted white line and a mutual agreement to not play bumper cars.
Dude, yeah. Seriously. Well, staying on the road subject, people are saying that, society will never be controlled by robots, but robots are already deciding when you're allowed to cross the road or not.
Seriously
right?
True.
They're controlling our lights. Yeah.
If water hydrates you and salt water dehydrates you, there must be some critical water salt ratio where you neither gain or lose hydration.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called isotonic fluid.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Basically, it's just like it's a perfect.
It's just wet.
Yeah. Well, but no, the thing is that you yourself aren't always perfectly isotonic. Like you could have.
Yeah.
Need more. I guess it fluctuates, but.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
I have so many.
Yeah, I think that's all the main ones I have. I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to throw out there.
I do. I have two more
Okay.
at least. Okay. It's possible that the world's first time traveler has already died but has yet not been born.
Yeah, that's a really cool thought. I've thought about that actually before. Yeah.
And then this is... I laughed internally and externally more than I should have for this. No one in all of recorded pizza history... Okay, first off, that's a really good start to a sentence.
Recorded pizza history.
Recorded pizza history. No one in all of recorded pizza history has ever confused DiGiorno with delivery.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah. Not personally, at least. I don't know anybody. I don't know nobody.
Yeah.
Whew. Dude. Well... Everybody out there, listen, if you're looking to go to college, it's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
But you need to maybe try to figure out a good alternative if you're concerned about exorbitant amounts of debt.
Yeah.
But
think about it.
Community
first.
college is a great idea. Push your kids to get good grades, which is something that I'm, preaching to the choir. I need to do that myself.
Because you're still in school.
My kids. I'm push the kids.
Oh, right.
Kids. Yeah.
Well, your daughter told me she's going to be working on homework until really late tonight.
Yeah, I know.
And I said, what are you going to be working?
My 5-year-old daughter already said, I got to work on homework.
What are you going to be
tonight.
working on? You going to be working on algebra or whatever? And she goes, no, puppets.
Puppets.
That's
my girl. That's my girl.
Oh, puppeteering.
That's her profession. She's going to go into the trade of puppeteering.
Perfect.
Proud of her.
Yeah, she's going to be wonderful at it.
Oh, man. Well, guys, listen, we appreciate everybody. We appreciate all your input. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
And
subscribe to us. Like us.
Yeah. We really look forward
Join us live.
to the journey that's going on with more Testing Normal guests and different opportunities that are coming in the future.
We actually have one scheduled coming up, guys,
that's going to be a fun one.
We
got a couple that are going to be fun.
I could just say
everyone's going to be fun.
I'll just say this one now because I think this next week I'm going to be putting out questions. But for those of you who remember the mayor of Almsville.
Oh, yeah. That's exciting.
I bumped into him over some subjects, and he's going to be joining us again to talk about some stuff. And so I'm going to actually put up a poll coming up here soon asking for
really good times.
Questions and or input that people would like to have covered when he is here. Because that's something that we didn't do last time.
Will we put those up on Instagram, or what are we going to do?
I'll put it on Instagram with our link and all that kind of stuff.
So, if you guys have specific questions,
but if you're listening to this now,
you
can go to testingnormal.com and hit the little contact button, and you can send us what you would like us to ask him.
Yeah,
about.
For sure.
So
awesome. All right, guys, we love you all. Have a good week. Peace.
See ya.